I don't think I knew if I was doing another Halloween after 4, but it came pretty quickly. We shot 1 year, almost to the day after we had finished. So I had both my 11th and 12th birthday on set. But the movie came out in between that time. So it happened very quickly.
Halloween 5 definitely was rushed into production. They tried to capture that same lightning in a bottle that they got on 4. So a lot of things were rushed, and I feel like they didn't assemble some of the key components of the Halloween 4 team that would have been vital. They went a whole new direction.
We got 5, we had a partial screenplay, brought in a new writer, got another version of it. We actually started filming without a completed screenplay.
So it was sort of a whirlwind. I remember getting the script and being so excited because I was the lead now. I mean, I had so much that I got to do and had to do.
And Dominique was a director that was actually recommended to my father by Deborah Hill.
Once I had come on, Dominique was already writing. He was very involved in storyboarding and putting pieces together so they would fit like gears. That didn't necessarily happen once we started filming. So we brought in another writer, Shem Bitterman. And Ramsey Thomas, who was our producer, is also a writer. Although he may not have gotten credit, he was supervising the writing and helping everyone to get their good ideas onto paper.
I don't think I understood what was going on. It had to be explained to me why I was in this hospital and why I couldn't speak. But I think I'd wanted to come back and kill people.
I don't ever recall there being a discussion about Danielle being the killer. It's one of those things that you don't really know until the script, comes to you and stuff.
I don't know. I mean, where would the story go if they didn't have Jamie turn into a sympathetic character? If I was just running around as Michael Myers' sidekick, I don't really know what could have happened. I think they needed to keep Jamie a sympathetic character to have someone to root for.
Most of the film was filmed at night, so we were limited in the number of shooting hours we had.
That whole opening of Halloween 5 was shot in one take because we were running out of time. It was like sun was coming up, we had no time, and we shot that in literally one take. And I remember being freaked out that she had to give me CPR and have her mouth over me. I was a little, I was a little germaphobe.
The shape.
The stunt coordinator, Don Pike, was a friend of mine. We'd worked together. And when they came into Salt Lake, he called me and asked me if I was available for work. Originally, I thought they were just asking me to come in, for stunt work. And about 10 minutes later, he calls, he goes, "The director wants to meet with you." And I thought, well, this is kind of strange for stunts. And he goes, "No, they want to see you for the Michael Myers part." I go, "Oh, okay." So I go and I meet with Dominique, and we're in the hotel room. And he says, "I want you to walk like wood through water." And so I got up and I did it. He goes, "Perfect, perfect, you got the part."
I was disappointed, but it was a director's preference, and Moustapha wanted me to do 5. But I did get in the opening sequence in Halloween 5, so I can claim 4, 5, and 6.
I was bummed out that George wasn't going to be back, but I was so excited to go. And then I met Don, and he immediately bonded with me, and he used to give me neck rubs, and he'd swing me around. And he also always had the mask off until we were ready to go, and he made me feel really safe.
They didn't want me to study any of the Michael Myers before because they didn't want me to have a preconceived notion. Dominique had a very distinct way that he wanted to film it. I figured that I was closer to Michael Myers than anybody because I lived in Illinois. We were probably about the same age, and I like to kill.
I thought that the mask looked beat up, but then I think I rationalized it by feeling like, well, he just went through all of this stuff in the other one, so it would probably look a little bit different because it's so pasty white in 4 that in 5 it's had a blue-gray kind of tone to it, so it looked completely different. But I think as a kid I just went, oh, well, it's probably just old.
Greg Nicotero had designed it after his face, but my head was a little bit bigger than his, so we had to go in and do moldings. What we did was Moustapha didn't want to be able to see the eyes. So they took nylon stockings and put it over the eyes, which cuts down your vision quite a bit.
I mean, the mask looks different in every movie. It's definitely the start of the deterioration of the Michael Myers mask. 5 definitely like sets it off. And then it just continued to go, and now it's a shred of a nothing. There's some hair and a little bit of, of latex, unfortunately.
Ellie, this is your making of Halloween 5 tape you wanted.
I was tapped pretty early to be involved in 5, and I knew I would be. So the script arrived at my home, and I had a suspicion that I wouldn't make it through this one. No! I didn't quite expect to be killed off so early. And it was the way it was written was that I was supposed to get scissors shoved down my throat. And I just thought for Rachel, it was too undignified. It didn't sit right. And so, I made a fuss about that, and they rewrote it so it was a little bit less graphic.
1, 2, 3, go. I'm dying, I'm getting up.
I remember the vibe on set and Ellie being really upset on the day that she had her death scene.
I went from being in the shower, running outside in a towel, to getting killed. It was like, there wasn't much there. I thought there was no way that Rachel Carruthers could have lived through 4 and have outsmarted Michael Myers in so many ways and go so easily. Like, that did not ring true at all.
I was sad when I read it that Ellie wasn't going to be around more. And then I got to set, and Wendy Kaplan and I had this, incredible bond.
These are the 2 stars of hell. Hey, get over there. 2 stars. Oh!
You're so special.
I really loved the character. Not like someone that would pop up in every movie, especially sort of really different from this genre, I felt like. So I guess the bad girl part of me, it was fun to be able to express that.
Symbolically, she did take over the sister role, but energetically, we were so different. Her part, I think, was so deliberately out there for whatever reason.
Poor Wendy, she had big shoes to fill. People loved Rachel, and they did not like Tina.
So maybe sometimes, I was annoying as Tina, and I said things that were sort of off-center. And
I'm never sensible if I can help it.
From a character standpoint, I do think the fact that I was willing to just say whatever I wanted and be this crazy person, it didn't always jive maybe with what people were expecting as the heroine.
Yeah, maybe you don't even need to wear a mask, baby.
I knew Wendy before I came, and I didn't know she was cast in the movie, but when I drove up in the car to the hotel, she knew I was in it, and she came running out, and I'm like, oh my God, and she's like, yeah, I'm playing your girlfriend. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm stoked about that.
I'm ready, ow, bruised but ready.
I'd always been a cult fan of the horror genre, and to get an opportunity to be in a horror film, I couldn't pass it up. So studied my butt off, went in there with my best stupid Spitz laugh I could muster, and fooled him into giving me the role.
I connected with Sammy so much when I went in and read, and I felt like I was so her, and I was just so automatically anywhere I could be. I was just Sammy, inside out, upside down, whatever.
She was very, a lot of fun to deal with and see where she was going, because you wouldn't know from one minute to the next.
Jamie? Max?
Me being mute, I get it, kinda, but when something traumatic happens, kids, sometimes it's likely that would happen, but I don't know why they couldn't have me talk. They were trying to get artsy maybe, or trying to be real, or think outside the box, and I think sometimes things are just better left. If it's not broke, don't fix it.
It got overly complicated when it didn't need to. That was my sense about Jamie being mute.
These are for you.
And then the stuttering sidekick, and there was definitely some cheese factor to Halloween 5.
Jamie, are you okay?
I picked Jeffrey. We were in New York and we had auditioned boys.
My character had this infamous stutter. You know, we talked a lot about why Billy had a stutter and at what moments they wanted the stutter to be more pronounced than others.
You don't even know where she is. But I do.
And Dominique was very aware of that and very careful to make sure that I was staying true to the nature of stuttering, in that when you're more frantic, it gets worse. When you're a little more comfortable, it's easier to speak, etc.
The two kids, it was sort of a symbiotic type of relationship, because one stuttered, the other one isn't talking, you know, and yet they were communicating the best of anybody.
They say in Hollywood you should never work with kids or animals, so I guess that's the way to mitigate that. Have one kid be a stutterer and the other one not talk at all.
I've seen horror movies with actors, kid actors, and a lot of them were not very good. I guess I just had a lot as a child that kind of came up.
Everyone on the film was so wonderful and so aware of the fact that Danielle and I were children and were very patient with us and careful. Obviously, she was carrying this film so much, and I thought the way she handled that and the way that she led everyone on the film was really wonderful.
You sense something, don't you? Tell me what you know. Right.
Donald and I were much closer on this. Again, he only came on set for like a week or so I didn't have, we had a lot of stuff in a very, short amount of time.
He had difficulty in getting in the country. The head of the Utah Film Commission helped us to get the proper visa for Donald Pleasence, because his visa had expired.
One night he did come, and I had been wrapped for the night. And it's a scene in the woods. I'm supposed to be in the woods, but he can't see me, he's yelling. And he came and he knocked on my door, and he goes, might I impose on you that I would like you to be out there. Even though I can't see you, I want to know that you're there. I said, sure.
I was scared of him too. Donald Pleasence yelling in your face and shaking you. I was like, oh my God. I wondered what the smell was that was on Donald Pleasence's breath. And now I know, as an adult, it's bourbon.
It's an interesting thing for someone, because he has all this stature and he's doing a horror movie, but he treated it like it could have been, Shakespeare.
When we were doing the scene where we're on the staircase and he's trying to talk me out of it and take the knife away from me, well, Donald wanted to do the stunts himself. He wanted to be able to, hit that window so they could see the expression. So we did the window, I slammed him into that, but they wouldn't let him do the one over the railing. They thought that was a little too much.
I was a child, he was as an older gentleman. We would sit at dinner together, everyone, and he would tell great stories of his wonderful career, which at 11 years old I did not appreciate as much as I would love to be at that dinner table now.
On set we had something called a triple banger, where there's one trailer but there's 3 different rooms. One was for Jeffrey Landman, who played Billy, one was for me, and one was for when we did school. I remember seeing Donald's huge trailer and thinking, oh my gosh, there's a bed in there. How cool is that? Donald rapped and he said, my trailer stays and it's for Danielle. She's the star of this movie now. So he made them keep this big ass 40-foot trailer for me. And I just thought it was the coolest thing.
Strikes one up, yeah, okay, there you go.
We had taken over the hotel we were at. We took offices there, we took rooms there.
You're on location with a fistful of money, and the whole place is dry on Sunday because it's a Mormon state. So we got in our partying when we could.
It was a party happening nightly in our room.
I mean, we were out in the hallway of the hotel, at 8 o'clock in the morning, running around, music, and we probably trashed a couple hotel rooms. It was like our version of a frat party.
There was a lot of liquor, and we would dance till the wee hours of the morning and then get up with 3 or 4 hours worth of sleep.
2 o'clock in the morning, we're shooting tomorrow. This is the exact last night we're gonna do this, right, Mark?
I can see certain things in the movie where I'm like, ooh, that was a long night. Look at those bags.
And there was this little bar, this big cabinet where they kept all the little liquor bottles. And it had like a latch on it, but it would open just a teeny bit, and I was the only one that had a small enough arm to reach in and grab the bottles for everybody. And we would party in my room. So I was one of the gang.
She was like a little buddy. I mean, she was with us all the time.
A lot of dancing, a lot of crazy music, a lot of people hooking up with each other, and I'll leave names out of it.
And hopefully that spirit of genuine care for each other and the fun that we had making the movie, hopefully that comes across in the film as well. We really did enjoy each other.
What do you think? Orders are orders. I look like a life-threatening situation to you?
I didn't see any semblance of comedy. And the role that me and Dave were like these two clown cops. I thought, this is a little bit of an odd choice. It's unusual for this type of series, but hey, job's a job, you know, make it work.
Those guys did a great job with it, and we all sort of saw it as a way to kind of open it up a little bit.
Definitely not funny.
Comedy is actually tough, because how do you do it without being cliche or trite or corny? And I took a little pass at it. I made some goofy, kind of cartoon music that went with it.
All clear. Nothing above, nothing below.
I wasn't expecting that at all. You know, I realized that we were the comedy relief, but I didn't realize that Dominique was going to go over, you know, take that extra leap and actually add in these sound effects that were these goofy sound effects.
Fortunately, we're lousy cops. Sorry.
Boop, blah, 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 boop, honka, honka. Yeah.
You know, you've got a Halloween scary groove, and all of a sudden this thing that's just like a cartoon cue. So that was an odd piece. And they kept it, so I guess it worked.
The performers played enough of the humor without this music that sort of adds this silliness that I don't think is necessarily there or even really appropriate.
When I came out of the house for the first time, when Ellie called the police, Pretty Woman, I thought, wow, it'd be great if this cop is attracted to her. It would make the scene a little more fun if I'm trying to impress her, especially since I'm being cut off a great deal by my partner Dave, which is going to make it an irritant to me.
It's what we're here for. Rescue cats. Find dogs. That's a job. And we love it.
Halloween 5 felt like a different movie altogether. It didn't have the same vibe. Dominique was very eccentric, and just the way he talked about things.
He definitely had a way of making you feel more connected to material that frankly some people might have thought or dismissed as trite.
At first, you know, a lot of things he said, it was kind of off the wall, you know, like wood through water. But when he gave you different things, you could kind of picture it and you would think about it, and then it would take on a life of itself.
Every time me and Dave, my partner, walked away from camera, he would always say, when you walk away from camera, I want you to walk like penguins. Penguins, you get me? He wanted to add a goofiness to these characters. So he thought if we waddled away, it would add that element of clownishness. So oftentimes we were walking away from camera and I would hear, just as we turned, penguins, penguins.
Well, you know, he's French. So that kind of says it all right there.
Everything he would say to me was, it's about sex. Sexy. And I was like, okay, I'm walking my dog. You know, he was all like, sexy, sexy. We want sexy. Rachel wasn't big in the sexy department, and that's kind of what made her the girl next door. And I think that's why the characters liked her. We had the sexy girls, but my character wasn't one of them.
And there was no more sort of telling Dominique-ism in the film than when he asked Ms. Glynn and I to come and rehearse the love scene in his hotel room the night before we shot it. I think we were both like, You want us to do what?
No, yeah, you come. I will walk you through the way I see it. The lighting has to be perfect in your face and the hands, and I just want to walk you through the choreography.
And we got there and we just kind of worked out the beats, and it couldn't have been sort of more technical, and there really was no passion involved. It was put your hand there, move there so she can do this, so she's looking into the key light. And so I appreciated that about him, his sort of technical approach to the filmmaking aspect, but then his ability to kind of draw you into his world and make it seem like a fun place to be.
I was really close with Dominique. I remember going to his house in LA and we ate dinner sitting on pillows, and I just thought that was the coolest thing. You know, he was just very French. So I'd never met anybody before that was European.
Well, Dominique's fun, a lot of fun. Good Frenchman.
I love that he brought something different, probably, to the movie, which some people really responded to and some people didn't.
I remember a lot of things changing at the last minute. For example, for all the rehearsal process and for the first day of shooting, Billy was supposed to be a BMX bike racer.
There was a bunch of stuff between Billy and Jamie where Billy was supposed to like save her life and we were riding bicycles. It was all this shit.
We would sit around and say, that sounds good. We could do that. We filmed them. They didn't all make it into the film, but we shot them.
So it was a lot of stuff like that, of things being changed very drastically without rhyme or reason. What was on the script wasn't necessarily what you shot that day.
I know Mustafa and Dominique kind of had a butting of heads towards the end. That's why they changed this and that. And I don't know if Dominique was trying to take over, or, I mean, I didn't get involved in the politics.
But I remember the biggest drama being about Samantha and Tina.
Something happened with wardrobe, and Wendy's character Tina, and then she was supposed to play the devil, I was gonna play something else, and then all of a sudden she's playing the French maid, and then I'm Devil Girl.
They didn't want the heroine of the movie to be the devil, because they felt you wouldn't really feel for her as much. So instead they made the girl that has sex the devil.
I loved my costume. I was so happy to have that costume, though. It was really fun.
Queen of room service.
Spitz dresses up like Michael Myers at the Tower Farm party to play a prank on the cops. But how does he even know who Michael Myers is or what he looks like, and where does he get that mask? Like, you start poking holes in this film and you're gonna end up with some Swiss cheese, mister.
My experience is that when you are working on a film, there's a lot of changes midstream. It's almost never a good thing. There's something about the foundation that begins to get really flimsy.
There were some scenes that I did that we reshot that I wish were put back into the film.
There was a very bizarre character who was called Dr. Death, I believe, and he was this skinny, kind of funny character actor who had a parakeet. And Michael Myers wanders into his house. I guess they were trying to reference Frankenstein and the Blind Man. Michael Myers walks in his house and falls on the bed.
And he puts the tattoo on me, and there was a whole bunch of, witchcraft things, spells and whatnot. And on Halloween, I come back to life, put the mask on, and over this altar, there was this sharpened rock. So I get up, grab him, take him up over my head, I break his back, throw him on the altar, and I put the rock through his chest. I thought that was kind of a nice scene.
Everything was put into that opening scene, and it didn't work. And Mustafa saw it, and he hated it. They decided that they would reshoot it. They would reshoot the opening, and they did.
We just had a distress call from the clinic. They haven't been able to reach them again. There were 4 men up there.
And there was a whole sequence where I killed the SWAT team, which never made it to the screen.
It was just bloody, 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 trying to shoot down Michael Myers in front of that hospital with police cars and actors and stuntmen. And that became a real bone of contention for the director and the executive producer.
Let's see, we're going to go to Bloomington, Redfield, Evanston, and then final destination.
The Man in Black was never in the script. The Man in Black showed up midway.
That was kind of interesting. I mean, I wasn't really told who it was, but I played him some of the times.
There were people that would always come to set and watch, people in the neighborhood. And there was a guy that would always come wearing these slickers and hat. And I think that I don't know if it was Dominique or somebody else came up with an idea that they wanted to add an extra element to it, another character. Who is he? What's the symbolism? And I have no clue, except that the movie was not going as planned and it was lacking something, and they decided to add in this guy midway through to make up for things that just were falling short, I guess.
This Man in Black, this would fix all the problems. The problems it fixed and the problems it created were fairly well balanced. And the hope was, in part 6, it would be resolved. I remember Don taking me to the side and saying, Rick, what the are they doing here? This doesn't make any sense.
They shot other scenes. It's like, well, why are we filming these? And he goes, well, this will go into the part 6.
Don't worry, Don. It'll all make sense when it comes out in the wash. You'll see. I mean, what was I going to do?
The only thing I vaguely remember was that they said there was going to be some connection between him and Michael via they had the same tattoo.
They said that, you know, it was sort of like, in my mind, I think this, but like Raising Cain, that either it was going to be like a twin, an alter ego, or during the year that they did this incantation and then it became another being.
I do know, though, for a fact that at the end of 5, no one had any clear vision what the Man in Black was. Maybe Don had an idea, Dominique, you know, Dan Farrens at watching it in the theater somewhere. Everyone had their idea, but there was no one clear direction of what was going to happen.
We were filming in the summer. Pumpkins don't come out until Halloween. So we tried gourds, we tried squash, we tried, and what ultimately worked well were watermelon. Rob Draper, who is the director of photography, is a very capable guy and provided really good opportunities for reveals, for angles on things, for drama within the shot itself.
There's a shot in the movie of me just almost making love to that Camaro that I drove, and how I touched it and I wiped it clean, and people really seem to like that one particular shot. And also when I got, you know, a pitchfork to the head.
3, 2, 1, action.
For many, many, many years, I had one of the stunt heads until my wife just couldn't take it anymore. And she's like, you have to get rid of that. That's really creepy.
The Camaro, when I was driving it, there was something strange about the car. I couldn't put my finger on it, but it's like, you know, there's something just weird about this car.
In retrospect, I feel like I was in the car, I was always creeped out.
And it wasn't until about 2 years ago, the transportation captain, the guy who found the car, told me that they got it from a family that the girl had committed suicide in the car. I don't know if that vibe was there, but there was always something strange about that car.
If you remember when Michael Myers takes Tina, he gets her in the car and they stop at a convenience store. When we shot the convenience store scene, they didn't have a lot of extras available because it was 2 or 3 in the morning. So I was there waiting for another scene to be shot, and they asked if I would put on a costume and play an extra in front of the convenience store. So if you see that scene, I'm dressed in a cat suit with a mask and a dark wig, and I look pretty hot.
The Cro-Magnon, the Brute mask, that was sort of thrown in, and yes, at one time they wanted me to wear a Ronald Reagan because he thought that would be funny. But I don't think they could get approval for that one.
When I was in the car with Don, he did creep me out. I mean, it's amazing what one can do behind a mask. And he did all these little subtle things with his eyes and his movements.
When I was talking to Dominique, he goes, what can you give me as far as reaction? I go, well, stay on my hands. So if you watch, I'm gripping the wheel, and when she comes over and she kisses me, and then she has that reaction. And Dominique's like, oh, yes, that's it.
That's where the European filmmaker, truly, you got to see it on screen. It was lit just brilliantly. So beautiful.
I got to get a pitchfork in the back while having sex in a barn. Did I get to finish, though? Only I know for sure.
One part in the barn that did get difficult, the application that Greg Nicotero and Mark Maitre had on Matthew Walker, who played Spitz.
I had to be laying on an ironing board with half my torso kind of hanging off the ironing board, propping myself up over her with the fake chest kind of coming down at an angle there. Everything had to be sort of just right, and they made up my neck and made everything up to look like it, and I'm trying to be as naturalistic as possible. And we can only do it once, we think, so we call action, and the prongs come through, and because the foam was of such high quality, it formed around the prongs very quickly, so the blood couldn't penetrate through the holes that were made. The blood just hit the back of the appliance and ran down. And we tried to do it again and set up for a second shot, but again, the same thing happened. The prongs came through, and the blood just kind of fell behind, so they said, we got what we needed, we're moving on, and nobody was happier than me because I could get off the ironing board.
I grew up on a farm, and if you notice, there's a lot of farm implements. So, you know, I was showing Dominique, okay, we can do this, we can do that, and when I used the mowing side, he goes, oh, the Grim Reaper, that's wonderful, that's wonderful.
I was not supposed to get killed the way I did in the film. And I went to Dominique, and I suggested, I said, can we see some balls on Sammy, you know, one time that she's gonna fight back, you know, she's gonna try and get back at Michael Myers. So Dominique said, great idea. And so that's why I pulled the pitchfork out of Spitz's back, and that's why I take off after Michael. You son of a bitch! When I go back against the barn wall there, I hit my arm pretty hard and a nail went in it, so I had to go and get a tetanus shot. And Michael did an incredible job killing me.
It sounded different. As far as my death scene goes, it was never a shot how we got killed. It was the aftermath. You just saw us all bloodied up in the car. I guess it's left to your imagination.
I mean, the scene where I'm running through the woods with Dawn, you know, driving the car, I had food poisoning that day. It was like throwing up in between takes. And I remember we just went over it 2 or 3 times of here's gonna be your path around that tree, and then you're gonna go over here. So you're like, okay. And you start running, and they start filling the, you know, the area with this thick, dense smoke. And Don's got the lights on in the car, and I'm running in front of him. He can't see me. I mean, there's times where I watch that movie, and I am so close to the front of that car. I can't believe that I actually did that.
We didn't use a lot of stunt people. Very seldom did we use anything.
When I'm running through the field at the end, he, you know, is driving. And
I'm right on her, and the camera's in the back. We got the lights on her. Take 3, she turns around so the camera can see her, and she's wearing a cape, and she trips and falls, and I drove over her. I mean, I stopped it right on top of her. I heard her scream.
Luckily, he's a stunt driver, and so nothing happened.
It was close.
When we did the scene where he drives into the tree, they invited everyone to the set to watch that big explosion. And everyone was so excited that it went so well that they never yelled cut. So Donald was inside the burning car for longer than I think anyone should have been.
I love how I died because I felt like I saved a life. And I love that I got this opportunity to be a heroine in that one moment.
The premiere, when she died, they applauded.
There was a scene where I'm in the laundry chute, and even that scene, actually, Dawn was stabbing it with a real knife, and I was in there, and I was not harnessed, and it was an air conditioning duct. I would sort of get in and wedge myself in there and put my feet up, and I just fit enough to where, like, I couldn't move. But then I was, you know, I would let my legs go, and I would hold on and try to grab at it, and again, there was nothing that was holding me up from completely falling and eating shit and hitting the bottom of this thing.
And we marked out different places inside, and then I had marks on the outside where I could put the knife where she would be safe.
Dom would come in and, you know, okay, now make sure you keep your legs above here, Danielle. And I would go, okay, and I would hold my legs up, and he would just jam a butcher knife through. So it's fucking crazy to think about it.
But if she slipped or something, you know, I mean, she was a real trooper. I have to give her that.
There's a moment where my leg falls down and he's supposed to get me through the leg with the knife, and then he pulls it out and you see me like screaming, and then the next scene when I come out of the shoot and I fall onto the floor, if you notice I have a huge gash in my leg and there's like blood all down my tights. So we didn't reshoot the aftermath, but they completely nixed me getting stabbed in the shin from the movie. I had that leg for a while actually, and I gave it to a cousin of mine and he lost it.
I think I worked on part 5, it was a matter of days. And then I think they had to bring me all the way back so I could be the corpse in the attic.
You want to fly back and shoot this scene, and then we're going to have a huge final after party. And I'm like, yeah, why not?
Let me see.
The only time that I thought it was weird was when he took his mask off. You can see that he doesn't look like what Michael Myers should look like because he's, Indian, Cherokee Indian.
Dominic thought that Danielle and I looked enough that we could be like father and daughter. I had long hair at the time, it was dark, and we had similar features.
You're just like me.
And when we shot that scene, I had to cry.
I think because I was so close with Dawn that we had this bond anyway. I just remember feeling emotional during the scene, and it's a great moment of vulnerability. I mean, I think you have to sort of show that in those characters for them to be somewhat likable, or at least know where they've come from and why they've ended up being the way that they are.
They had a prosthetic ready in case they wanted to do a full face, but Dominic thought it was more effective just to see the one eye. And that when she reaches up, and this goes to the part 6 too, that they were shooting, that they were going to show more of it in part 6. That, all of us would, kind of gel together.
I remember being scared that I was going to catch on fire because I had this big dress on that had all this shit sprayed on it that was like flammable. And I thought, oh God, I have a gallon of hairspray on my dress and I'm totally flipping out of this coffin and there's candles everywhere. I'm going to get caught on fire. So that was, I kind of needed him to be there to make me feel like I was protected.
We're doing the fight scene, I do the thing with Loomis and they drop the chain, which was heavy as hell. We had a rubber 2x4, but it had a PVC pipe in it. And if you hit it on the 4 side, it was padded. And on the 2 side, there was less. And so he was getting a little bit tired, kept doing it. I mean, he did it, Don Pike did it, Dominique even did it, hit me with that 2x4. But at one point, he turned it just a little bit and caught me on the nose and broke my nose. And Don came over to me and he goes, did he get you? And I go, yeah. He goes, you want to stop? I go, nah. I mean, I've been hit before, let's go. In the film, Donald Pleasence, this was supposed to be his last film. And it was written and we shot it that way and he was supposedly dead. He wasn't going to come back for part 6. He's laying on top of me and I'm supposedly dying, he's dying. And the lights are flashing and he whispers to me, he goes, now I get it. I abused you as a child.
National Guard will take him to a maximum security facility where he'll stay till the day he dies.
That shot, I always go, oh, Michael's just sitting in jail. I mean, I don't know. There could have been a better ending.
The ending of 5, I think similarly to 4, what they were probably trying to get was some kind of cliffhanger ending, that would try and bring the fans back. Who is this? What is this? What happened? So I think that was probably the idea, what they were going for with the Man in Black, but I think it wasn't successful.
So when it came to do Halloween 5, the director, Dominic Orson Girard, kind of wants to go back to Halloween 1, in his mind at least. So he says, I really want you to feature the piano. I know you do a lot of synth stuff, but I really want this to be a piano-driven score. Kept it simple. I remember at the beginning of 5 was this whole pumpkin chop thing. It was the first time that I kind of went wild myself in that opening scene. So I had loaded the Halloween theme into the sampler, and now because you've got the whole piece of music on one key, You could go dun 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 all the way up. So I actually kind of went for the craziness with the chopping of the pumpkin in that opening scene, and actually added the slicing sounds as a percussion instrument. Dominic was a little more involved. He would come over a lot. So I'd say where Dwight visited 3 or 4 times, I saw Dominic probably 10 or 15 times. He'd like twice a week, how's it going, kind of monitoring and giving me a little more guidance for where he wanted to see the accents go. But nice guy, really liked him. He kept it fun.
I couldn't make it to LA for the premiere, so Mustafa sent my mom a bunch of money and said, create a premiere for her in New York. So my mom rented out a theater, and I got all my friends that were underage, and we all went to the theater to watch it. And there was probably like 40 or 50 of us. So we hooted and hollered and cheered and thought it was the greatest thing since sliced bread. But I think that as I get older and I see the 2 movies back to back and talk to the fans, they still love it, but they always say that they liked 4 better.
I think 5 dissipated the interest level of the really diehard fans. That's why it didn't do as well at the box office. And I know, for some reason, 12 minutes into the film, audiences were seen like running for the exits. So I don't know.
There were certain things that just didn't seem to jibe, and certain things that they didn't seem to take care of.
It seemed like in the rush to get it done, maybe there was a lot of cooks in the kitchen, but it's definitely a unique film amongst the series. It's got its own look and style and feel.
The opportunity to do this film with so many creative people in one place really benefited the film. If it was a standalone project, I think it would have done very well.
I think it's still some of the best work I've done as an actor. The movie's a good movie outside of it being a sequel to Halloween 4. I mean, if you just watched it outside and it wasn't Michael Myers, I think that it is a good movie.
People are still watching it and still having a great time. Whether they love it or they hate it, they still watch it. So it's doing something for people.
I get phone calls and texts and emails every year at Halloween when the film plays. I saw you in a barn get a pitchfork in the back, dude.
I'm glad that aficionados of the Halloween series eat it up. They seem that they can't get enough.
The fans are always, they're the best. And it's great to go out and they know it inside and out. They know everything about the movie. They know more about it than I do.
I came to this convention and I was like, is anybody gonna remember me? It was kind of an oddity to me. Like, why would I go? They want my autograph? Are you kidding? Take a picture with me? Why? It was 25 years ago. And when I got there, it was a delight. People knew who I was. They wanted to take pictures, sign autographs. It was a blast. And again, I was really shocked that it's got this huge following.
The fans are incredible. The franchise has been so nice to me, and we're all family. I mean, it's something that once you're a part of it, you are a part of it, and there is a legacy there, and you will definitely carry that with you for the rest of your life.
I love that. I love that something I did 25 years ago as an 11-year-old kid still resonates with people all these years later, and people care so passionately about.
I really enjoy watching it, and I really love to see all of us in the movie, and I think it's really clear that we're all having like a great time.
And it's changed my life in the sense of that I feel kind of honored to be a part of something big.
Thank you.